Okay,
We are live, are we?
we are
Good
let-
morning, good evening, good afternoon,
letting everyone
everyone.
pile on. Hello, Curtis. I appreciate you, Curtis. You've been very active in the group, giving
Yeah, awesome.
suggestions and feedback. There were a couple times where I was like, "Oh, don't say that. It's gonna be no, like that's not entirely." Sometimes I have to be careful with that, but we'll work through it.
Yes.
Yeah. And
How's it
so
going?
just for all of you to know, I know that there was a post in the group and everyone's like, where's the Zoom? The Zoom call isn't working anymore. I had switched it out for the Vimeo link that we actually uploaded it, but I wanted it to be available for all of you earlier. But a 3.5 hour video takes a very long time to render. And so instead of having to take another hour to upload and let it render into our server, I just, pasted in the iframe of the Zoom call. And then when the video was ready, I switched it out. So if some of you are like on the Zoom call and you're click and play and it's not working, it's all you have to do is refresh your screen and the Vimeo is there
Good, good.
with the video.
All right. So I've seen a whole bunch of activity, people asking questions about their pains. I've been in there trying to respond to as many questions as I can. I've seen Chris has been very active in there as well, getting back to you all. Some people I think have submitted their PBCs or yesterday and got them up and running. So if that's the case, fantastic. Look, everyone here is doing great. And I saw a post from Chris saying pretty much like the hard work, the difficult part of this is over. And he's right. It's learning the process and getting through this takes a bit of time to get your head around. But now, now we're here, the rest of these sessions are mostly going to be us coaching you through so that you can either get your specific questions answered, and like on a live hot seat, or you'll see other people and that will help you get yours launched. So we obviously can't go through every single person, but that's what this is going to be today. Very, very soon now, we're going to bring people out who want us to go over their pains and challenges, their pains, and making sure that they've got their PPC set up. So that's where we're at. We are with it. Chris, do you just want to, for anyone who hasn't seen it, do you want to let them know where the walkthrough video is about how to set up the actual campaign and the
Yeah.
how to set up the first test?
Um, and real quick, Alexandra, you had mentioned in the chat, I was stuck in the waiting room again. So was everybody else. We didn't start until 6 minutes after. So you were on just like this. You came on the same exact time everyone else did. So um, don't worry. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. It's you have not missed a minute, Alexandra. So don't worry about that. It's we were getting started late. That's why we didn't let anybody in. It was not live right at the top of the hour. So yeah. Um, Dave, even though we're on day 3, I got to say I'm already seeing some results from your applying your philosophies on existing clients and changing above creative headlines following some of your frameworks from the 90-minute webinar. Right on, Dave. Right on. But what's the same in the last 2 days? Yeah, we got started like Alexandra, seriously. Yes, we started 5 minutes after each day, every time this week. So we usually don't, but it happened to turn out that way. So stop complaining. Okay. Um, can you just comment about the recording from yesterday? Um, what, what do you mean, Michael? What recording specifically, and what do you? I don't understand about the recording. Can you help me understand? Thought you had technical problems. No worries, Alexandra. It's oftentimes we're just I'm running an agency at the same time and many other things at the same time. And so sometimes I'm right up against the minute and then Nick and I get on and we're talking about how we're going to coach you guys today and everything we need to do for you. And that takes a few minutes beyond the hour. So I apologize. We're going to attempt to start a little earlier. Sometimes it takes a few minutes after the calls. Um, all right.
I think I can clear. There's a couple of questions I can clear up, Chris, just by asking you directly.
Yes.
So the video from yesterday has now been uploaded to Vimeo. It is now in the members area. As long as they go back in there and they should see the Vimeo video that is in there for yesterday's call, just refresh the page and you're going to be able to see that video. And then also there's another video in there, Chris, that I asked you about, which is the walkthrough, yeah, of how to actually go through and set up every single step of the campaign.
So here we are in the course, right? If you don't have this course, Message Mapping Workshop October 2024, then email me and let me know, or let me know in the chat, right? But you need to log into codemethodology.com and see what's available there for you. You should have it. And then you see that we've got all of these main things, the elements you work with during the test. We asked a lot of you to go through beforehand. These are the bonuses. Week 1, okay? So the first day's here, second day's here. So I go to the lesson. If I click on it, okay, then what did it not save? Oh my goodness. Okay. Um, who was that that told
That
me that?
was, I think it
I
was,
apologize. I put it there and I saved it, and maybe I accidentally had, I think I had 2 screens open and I saved the wrong screen. I'm so sorry, guys. Um, I'll get that in there right away. So that yesterday will be right here. That's weird. I saved it and then I guess I must have saved the other one on accident when I put this in it on another tab. I think that's what actually happened. So your walkthrough video is right here. Okay. This is essentially where I show you how to actually set up and start your PBC, to do all of the things to make sure that you have the option to select no button, and showing you exactly how the structure works so that you see how easy it is to actually set this up. You don't have to go and manually copy and paste in all of your uh, lines that you've come up with. It's literally do it once, duplicate after you get it all set up properly, duplicate the ad set, go to the ad, change the pane out in the above creative headline, as well as change the pane out in the below creative headline. And then just make sure your enhancements are still turned off. It's literally, and then you can just do that as many times as you need to for as many different variations as you will have. Okay. And again, I sincerely apologize about the other video. I put it here and I thought I hit save, and apparently I'm going so fast that doing so much that I miss things like this. And for those of you who've been around me for a while, you know that that is a common thing, that details with me, certain things happen, and I'm doing my best. I probably need a team of people to help me do a lot of these things, and I typically don't always make room for that. So yeah. All right. So that this is where it'll be at. I'll have the recording in here. It's like 3.5 hours since we kept on going, but there's some good stuff in there, right? So it's still worth watching. There's a lot of things. We probably aren't going to do it like that again, because what we did is, instead of just teaching what we taught, what we were going to teach, and then coaching you, I was basically answering questions the entire time, delaying what would should have been a 30-minute training and making it an hour and a half training. And, of course, I'm wanting to make sure you all understand it. But when we do that, this is what causes 3-hour calls, right? So we're probably going to hold questions a lot until the end, as well. So yeah, that's where your walkthrough video is in day 2. And then the walkthrough setup document is right here. You can click download and download a PDF version of it, which is the document that Nick taught from yesterday. Okay. There it is. I'm gonna handle that right now while we're getting going. Murray, I have a hard cache reload. Yeah, I'm gonna put it there in a moment. Give me a
so
moment. Guys are
what
so
I
pushy.
what I'd spoken to Rich in the group. He was just having a bit of trouble with getting his test live. So what I thought the best thing we could do is to bring him out real quick and have a look at his setup. So that's going to help anyone else who's got questions about how it's set up. We might be able to use that as a way to just get people over the line. So is Rich actually on the call? That's
He
the other.
is. Yeah.
And then for those of you too who are either still needing to get your pains figured out, or you've got your pains figured out, but you want some further tweaking of how to actually structure the headline, then put your hand up and we can also bring you out and work through some of this. So today, for the rest of this call, is going to be spent just doing hot seats with people who will we want to get into that.
Wait a second. You know what? That was a cache on my side. My Vimeo video is there. That's weird. That's really weird. Let me go there again and see what's happening.
Let's fix it up after, Chris. Let's just get stuck into coaching here because everyone's on the call anyway. They shouldn't be going back and watching replays right now.
Yeah. Let's pull out Rich. Sorry, I thought you were pulling him out. I don't think you have the ability to, do
No,
you?
I don't have the I don't have the gravitas that you have when it comes to Zoom.
Right.
Hello.
Hey, bud.
I can see it. All right, let's get you sorted out, mate. Um, share your screen with me and let's walk through and see what you've got going.
So yeah, I'll be honest, like I even went back to Chris, like the thing you did at Titans, and I watched that and I'm like, maybe because I don't even know. I'm probably overthinking this whole thing because it's my thing, and that's what I do. I smother it and
No, the
overcomplicate.
thing I did at Titans isn't necessarily too relevant to this test. It's different guidelines, different rules and things.
So let's
Yeah,
just have
I've
a look
been
at which
grasping.
headlines are you running with? Which are the pains that you're running with? Have you got them
I,
listed?
I started with these and then I'm like, but these don't match this thing because I copied and pasted it over, and I'm like, you're a moron. So start over here and then see what you can do from this. And then I don't know. I struggle. I don't know.
Yeah, see, we'll see how it's got PBC1, which is the test we're doing. All you're going to have there is the pains plus an ultimate benefit. So you can see across there, it's going to be in the example there, how business owners go from lack of leads to more sustainable future. So the lack of leads is in your example here is the pain, and the sustainable future is the ultimate benefit. And so every single one of your headlines is going to be, how business owners go from pain to a more sustainable future. And you're just going to swap out the pain for every single test.
See,
That's
you're
what
thinking the PBC1, PBC3 right there, that you're doing that all in one test. Is that what you're assuming?
I don't even know. I'm so jammed up. I could probably use like a Xanax and a shot.
I've
I
been
don't,
there.
yeah, I'm self-admitted jammed up. I don't
All right,
even.
so let's get so here's the thing. All you need to understand right now, PBC1 is just going to be how business owners go from pain to ultimate benefit, right? So and that's it. And then you're going to have the same ultimate benefit for every single headline. The only thing that's going to be swapped out is the pain. So how business owners go from pain one to ultimate benefit, how business owners go from pain two to ultimate benefit. That's all it's going to be. That's all. That's
And
the
then
only.
my ultimate benefit is uh,
What you've got at the top, what you've chosen there is a sustainable future is what you've chosen as the
yeah,
ultimate benefit.
they're not very sexy, but then I'm also saying you can't use a lot of words because I like to just obviously talk a lot and write a lot. So I was trying to distill stuff down, and that's what I
Yeah.
came up
So,
with.
so you want a bit of coaching just around whether you should, which ultimate benefit you should use then here.
Yeah, so you're saying to me that I'm in my PBC1 thing, I have how business owners go from lack of leads to, let's just say, sustainable future, and then how business owners go from slowing sales to
Sustainable
sustainable
future.
future.
And
Like
don't
that's
say
Correct.
more. Don't say more. Just say a sustainable future. The more is not a qualifier that helps that much, actually, because it's not definable. It's not quantifiable. And that's really it.
and this
Above creative,
happens how many times?
as many
As many
different
pains as you
pains you
want to
want to
test.
test. So
Jinx.
usually 5 to 8 different ones, a minimum of 4, but as many as probably 8 you can do at a time. A lot of
I did
people just do
the leads
5.
already. Um,
So here's the point of this, Rich.
yeah.
The point of PBC1 is to find the winning pain. So everything in PBC1 is exactly the same, except for the pain is the only thing that is substituted in each of these tests. So you'll say a sustainable future as the ultimate benefit in every single one of those different tests. But the pain is literally the
what's
one thing you
changing.
change. You keep business owners the same. All of that is exactly the same.
All right, yeah, I could breathe again. That's good. All right.
Um,
Um,
you've got it exactly right.
all right. So then this is cool. So I do this once and then I have to do it again for two.
Yeah, so then when we get once you've done PBC1 and we've got the winning pain, then that's when we're going to show you how to do PBC2, which is the next
Oh,
test.
I only have to do one.
Correct.
Ah. Oof.
See, Rich, you're quite intelligent, so you're overthinking it and going into and
Over-
asking yourself all these questions about like what, how, when, what about this, what about that.
Yeah,
It's actually just this for right now.
done. And then I just pop that into I can use this to set up my stuff, right? This thing.
Yep.
Yeah, although what you want to do is use Chris's video that he's now recorded that's in the members area that he just showed us, right? Because that's going to give you the precise, exact step-by-step setup of how to set these up.
That's what I need because I avoid the back end of Facebook like the plague. I don't ever go back there. All right,
Yeah.
so then I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, this is great. Best call
Awesome.
yet.
If you get stuck setting it up, ask a question in the Facebook group. We'll get to you. Right? We're
Tremendous.
going to pull everyone over the line here. Everyone's going to get this finished. Right,
Love
then-
it. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Got it, my man. Okay. So we're gonna, yep, I'll put you back in. All right. Takes just a quick moment here. Who's next? Looks like Curtis has his hand raised. Let's go to you, Curtis. And Rich, I'll get you back in here. It takes me just a moment.
Beat me up, Scotty.
glad it was making sense for you though. All right. Okay, and Curtis. And I'm going to enable access. I think I can enable access for you, Nick, so we can be able to do that. And then Martina, you're after Curtis. If you want to have coaching coming out, just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll go through that until we run out of time. We'll go through whoever we can. Curtis, my man.
Hello.
Hey. I appreciate you jumping in the group and helping, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm always on the lookout for anything you do to correct any of my opinions, and people should definitely listen to you way before they should listen to me. But
no, but you've been helping a lot. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm just treating everybody the way I want to be treated. I want the feedback, any ideas, or or if nothing else, they're letting you know what not to do. But
yeah, one of the things that it's worth mentioning here for everybody to clear up some clarity is the thing that and I'll just point out the one that you had pointed out yesterday is you had told someone, your ultimate benefit, right? And you used the word your, and of course I stupidly didn't really cover this until like the third hour when most people were gone. But explaining that using the word you or your actually creates the data always shows us that it creates a lot more negative feedback, more hide posts, more reported as spam because it's direct language. And because of that, if some of you have gone through my 5D ad course or my free webinar, you'll notice that the engagement rate, the negative feedback is what tanks your ad scores, which means your ads burn out faster and they lose the auctions. They don't get the good impressions like the other ads that have higher scores do. So that's why we stay away from direct language in the headlines. You can start to use direct language as you transition to it in the body of your ad, but we use pretty much more indirect type of we, our, I, type of verbiage, or the, if it comes down to it, instead of your or you. So
yeah, it's funny. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh, I knew that. He covered that in 5D, and it's just I needed a refresher. So
that's all. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to this, right? It's like learning a different language.
Definitely. So if anything jumps out at you, I mean, I have a bunch, but the ones I highlighted in blue are the pains that I was thinking of testing. I mean, you know, you could go down this rabbit hole forever. But if anything jumps out at you at tweaking that or the ultimate benefit, I was thinking
Could you zoom your screen a little bit?
yeah, sorry. Just a simple overarching thing like a happy home. Again, you know, it's martial arts for, in this particular case, it's for mainly for those hyperactive or, you know, energetic kids. It's probably the most common thing that we get is, you know, the kids are just all over the place. They need focus. They need to channel their energy, etc. So I was thinking about going with happy home. And then these are the pains that I was going to test. If anything jumps out at you there, I'll take the feedback. If not, I just have a simple question and then somebody else can go.
Okay. Couple things. First off, your common bond is what?
So something like caring parents,
No.
mainly because, you know, if we have things like emotional outbursts or hyperactive, like it's got a signal that, hey, we're talking to parents. But, you know, I could
I
be wrong.
understand that. I understand that. But what you're doing, it's a concept we call leading the witness.
Okay.
So we
the
want to say
caring.
parents, but we don't want to necessarily say caring parents. We have found that when we try to describe our common bond in too much detail,
Mm.
that really muddies the water with our test, and it's less reach because it's more specific. It's like niching down, and it doesn't last very long because you're now hitting a subset of parents that consider them caring, and I know most parents would consider them caring, but when you do that, you color how they respond to your
Okay.
pains and benefits. So we
That makes
don't
sense.
want to do, like, there was another example Nick had done one with, and you know it worked to a modicum, a decent degree, but we couldn't use it forever. It was, you know, how growth minded veterinarians, right? And so we're really leading the witness into the pains and benefits being specifically around, always around growth minded, and yet it's also alienating everybody who may not necessarily consider them that. But also, there's another thing there. Remember, the algorithm has a text scanner. They're scanning every word in your description and your headlines. The more specificity you have can lead to narrow focus on who they show the ads to, because the actual algorithm becomes biased and thinks, okay, caring parents, that's a subset of people. We're only going to show it to these people because other people here have not self-described themselves as caring parents anywhere in their messages or on their wall or anything they've ever talked about. And so it's some algorithm stuff that if we go too specific on the common bond, and it's just the common bond, other benefit, other elements can be very specific, but the common bond will very quickly create a bias that is not scalable and
Gotcha.
not getting a lot of reach. So we
Yeah,
want
and
to
I've already
stay
got a narrow enough audience as it is, so
correct.
so that's huge. Thank you. So then so I guess my question to follow up on that then, should I just go how parents go from, or should I leave it like how we go back to the like how we go from? Because I mean, especially if I've got you know, if my picture is, well, you saw the picture, it's, you know, at least the picture I was thinking about going with is just three kids smiling at the camera in karate uniforms. You know, it's super generic. They're happy kids. Obviously, that's gonna kind of signal people that we're talking about, you know, parents and their kids. So in terms of, do I even need a common bond, or can it just be how we go from for the testing? Does that make
So
sense?
yeah. It honestly, so this part of it is not as crucial as many people make it out to be. So let me help you understand what's going on here. The important part is the elements. The connecting words, like saying we go from or turn pain into ultimate benefit, doesn't matter as much because they're just connecting words that are setting up what the elements are. The thing we want to keep in mind is to be comparing apples to apples. So in most cases, if we say we go from, we want to do that, or how parents go from, you want to do that in every single one of your variations so that you're comparing apples to apples. Instead of saying we go from in one and then turn pain into benefit in another. And
No,
that,
I totally get that. Like, I understand completely that the only words that are going to change are the exact pains for the test. So I hear what you're saying. So I guess I'm just wondering, for the PBC1 test, you know, is it better? Do you think it's better to say how parents go from, or to say how we go from? Because I've got an image that shows kids. Is it too, you know, is it a little
No,
too?
I think you're smart with saying parents. It's
Okay.
not like if you said caring parents, then it's gonna, kind of whittle it down too much. But parents in and of itself is that's still a lot of parents in this world. And it's important because your market is you are targeting parents. And
Yeah.
it's more important because obviously, like you were bringing up, your image is showing one thing, but you're not targeting kids. You're
Right.
targeting the parents. So you have to be clear about who this is for in your ad, which is why the common bond is one of the elements to use.
Yeah. But in this case, the fact that it's a picture of, you know, some smiling kids will also instantly create that additional context of, we're talking about your kids. We're not talking about, these benefits are not like, we're not talking about parents who have tantrums. You know what I mean? So I just want to make sure I'm not like causing more confusion, you know. So
Yeah.
so I think I'm on the right track with how parents go from pain to ultimate benefit.
It's honestly like the reason we use this formula is because universally this particular formula tends to have the higher click rates and engagement rates of any of the 40 plus known formulas that we use in our agency. So that's one of the reasons why it's pretty good. Works pretty
Perfect.
well. Yeah.
So in regards to this, nothing else jumps out at you that I should be concerning myself with at the moment?
So the ones you have in blue are the ones you've selected, right?
Correct.
Hyperactive. I would want to say like hyperactive something, or hyperactivity.
Mm. Okay.
Ignore probably better because it's just one word and you're only
Yeah, and
at
honestly, like I considered that one actually living over here and, you know, more of the diagnosis. Like it's kind of more in the root cause, but at the same time, like I've heard, you know, I've had a lot. I
it
mean,
is.
teaching this for 20 years, I've had a lot of parents be like, call me on the phone, hey, you know, do you guys teach kids? I got a hyperactive kid that's just all over the place, you know.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing with diagnosis. The diagnosis can be included in your pain tests with one qualifier. Does everyone you're targeting know what that diagnosis means? If so, saying ADHD, they know what that means. Then you can use it in your test.
Okay.
See, the difference is in a diagnosis is not, in some cases, not everyone knows the diagnosis. And that's why we talk about the symptoms, because that's primarily what people respond to. But we have seen that when the diagnosis is fully understood by the audience, people respond to it just the same.
Okay. For that one, I'll probably play around with, like, you know, different ways to say it. You know, and I don't think that in this case, yeah, I think most people would know what hyperactive means. I agree. Everybody's gonna know what ADHD is, but that's not necessarily what I'm going after specifically. And again, I don't want to narrow it down too much, because there's a lot of parents. Actually, I have several that they would deny that their kid has ADHD, even though I'm not a doctor, but I could probably guarantee them that their kid has ADHD or something on the spectrum or whatever. So I'm going to leave that out of it for the testing, and I'll just tweak the wording for that.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. So just side question, and if you want to cover this, you know, just in the group or whatever, that's totally fine. But I remember from going through the replays previously, something about excluding warm audiences or people who have interacted with your ads or your ad account before, and you didn't mention that as far as I remember in this last step-by-step. So I'm just, before I click publish, I want to double check, is that something I should just ignore, or do I need to worry about that?
So there's, as always, it's more.
Depends.
Yes. There's that word, right? Well, it
Yep,
depends.
that's how just about every question has to be started or
So
answered.
here's where that came from, because a lot of you need to reason this and decide this for yourself. So this is a very important thing, actually. We used to, as a blanket thing, just have people exclude warm traffic, because if you're retargeting warm traffic, they respond differently than cold traffic.
Makes sense.
Here is the qualifier. If your message is dramatically different than the ones you're using, then if they respond to it, it's almost like it's cold, although they still know who you are, but they may not have responded before. but this message they will respond to. And so if your message is dramatically different from what you've been doing, if you've been doing like, attention parents, are your kids acting like little twits, then, it's tough to say that. But for the most part, we would prefer cold traffic, not warm traffic, to really get a sample size of what people are truly responding to without having any bias or branding to you already, which could give you a false positive if you're targeting warm traffic. So it wasn't that we didn't mean to mention it. It's just that we've changed around this format a bit in our teaching, and we have so many details to cover. And I think I might have missed that one.
Yeah. So and it's also evolving. I mean, what you just said makes a ton of sense. And I do think, I know all the advertising I've done before is dramatically different than what you're teaching. So, which I'm very much looking forward
I know.
to. So that answered my question, and I appreciate it. And I don't have anything else for you at the moment.
Right on, man. Very cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Right on. Marco, a couple things. Yesterday we said ambitious traders. So on the common bond thing, because I know you'd mentioned it, I saw you there. I would take the ambitious part out. If you've got a qualifier like beginner traders or expert traders, I get that, but ambitious is too broad and ambiguous. I would use just traders. If you're already using ambitious traders, continue on with the test. But like I said, this is not, for all of you here, I got news for you. This is not going to be the only PBC test that you ever do. This is the first. And once you see how well this works, you're going to want to do more with different common bonds, because you can't do a PBC test to multiple common bonds. You have to choose one common bond and see what that avatar responds to, or not use a common bond at all, which is entirely okay too. So there we go. All right. Next, we've got Martina.
Murray,
What's that?
Murray wanted to come at us too as well.
Yes, I got Martina, I got Greg, I got Murray. And Talia will get you in the group here as well. I think you're in there. I'm not seeing. Okay. So where are we? Martina, there you are.
I'm here. Hello.
Hello.
I've been promoted to a panelist.
Yes. Okay.
So I probably need to share the screen, right?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Share screen. And we want this whole one here, I think. Yes. Pick this one. Let's see if it's not really letting me pick the screen. Okay, let's try now. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. So, Chris, as you know, I write books for people who are learning Italian, and specifically books to do with vocabulary, at least this time. So, first of all, my biggest challenge was figuring out the ultimate benefit, because ultimately someone who's learning a language wants to be fluent, wants to feel generally connected with the culture and be part of it. In this case, the Italian culture. And because I was thinking of what my solution actually offers, in a sense, it only offers a bit of that ultimate benefit, meaning that because my books are helping with vocabulary, specifically vocabulary, they don't necessarily cover like speaking Italian, conversation, audio, being able to listen or watch a film. So I try to be quite careful in my pain points. And I wasn't sure, is when we think of the pain points, do we have to think of the pain points that our solution provides, or the pain points the person would have generally? See what I mean? So what I try to do them on the basis of what my books might be able to solve, at least in this case. And I put limited vocabulary. Are you able to see my Excel thingy? Can you see? Yeah.
Yes.
Limited vocabulary, generally communication barriers, language mistakes, because sometimes when you don't know enough words, you can say the wrong thing. Another thing that is quite common is memory blocks, because you're there and you suddenly think, oh, I've got the word in my hand, but it doesn't come out. You know, it's so typical of people who learn languages that sometimes are in a situation and they forget. And then self-doubt is often something quite present. So this is how I built my first 5 points. So the common bond, I thought Italian learners. I wanted something short, but then I thought Italian learners could mean 2 things. Could mean someone who's learning Italian, but also an Italian who's learning. So I wasn't sure if there could be any misunderstanding there.
No, I think that the moment you say limited vocabulary or cultural connection, it's there's enough context where it's understood that you mean people who are learning Italian.
Okay. So these are then what I came up with, you know, how Italian learners go from limited vocabulary to cultural connection.
So I've read them. I'm kind of
good.
there with some of them, but let me give you something here. I want to give
Okay.
you a thinking tool that just to be aware of. You just said something, and it's actually one of my favorite pains benefits that you should probably use. You said the limited vocabulary, and then you said, so they say the wrong things.
Mhm.
So
Like
what-
the language mistakes, you mean? The language
right,
mistakes.
language mistakes. They say the wrong things. What we're really looking for with the pains is that symptom of what happens. So actually using the pain of say the wrong things is one of the best pains you can test, because
Okay.
like language mistake, yes, that's also a pain, but that's just talking about what it is, not necessarily what happens because of a language mistake. Saying
Mhm.
the wrong thing has a reaction. Like the people will say, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So
Mhm.
what you have, communication barrier, that's more the problem, not the symptom. Not able to speak is, see what I mean? See, you've got a lot of the root causes. The root cause is a limited vocabulary. That's what's causing the issues. But what actually happens when they try to have a conversation? That's what we're looking for. They say the wrong things. They don't understand what others say to them. So we got to find a way to put that into a couple words.
And I actually had that originally, but it was so long I didn't know, don't understand what other people are saying. Don't
Yeah.
understand others. Or I put also misunderstandings. You see, that's the
I
other
was
thing
going
I
to say,
put.
misunderstanding locals. And what you might want to do is go to the thesaurus and type in misunderstanding and see if there's other words that are shorter in letters and syllables. Misunderstanding. 5 syllables.
It's very long. It's very long.
And we want to see if we can keep it to 3, if possible. 2 to 3. So that's
like,
where
for
I would
instance-
go. What's that?
And I was thinking like memory blocks could also be, originally I had like stuck for words.
I
don't
would
know if
say
that works.
you got it. See, stuck for words. That's the pain. Memory blocks is what's causing the pain. See, we're bringing it to life of the symptom of the problem, not necessarily telling them the problem. See, there's a problem that causes the issue, and then there's a symptom of the problem, which is what the pain actually is, and that's what people respond to much more.
Is that it's just the word you're making the sentence very long, because then it would go like how Italian learners go from being stuck for words.
No. You don't say being. You say
From
how
stuck for
Italian
words.
learners go from stuck for words. You've
Okay.
got 3 words there, and they're all 1 syllable. You're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah. Now here is a technique that I want all of you to hear. Okay. I want all of you to hear this. I did this in the group earlier today with somebody. You can take away certain words like being or having or doing, things that set up your pain, by putting a single quote around your pain. So instead of saying being stuck for words, you say how Italian learners go from single quote, stuck for words, end single quote. Now, if you type that out, you'll notice that it still makes complete sense. And when you do that, it causes someone to slow down and focus in much more and read the sentence slower when it has quotes like that around a phrase. And we have found that it works very well and people comprehend and understand it very well. And we get to save words that we don't have to use. We save space, which is going to really come into play at the end of this test when you guys try to put all this together and you go, oh yeah, my elements were too long because now I'm getting cut off with my elements because we didn't condense them enough, right? But stuck for words is great. It's one syllable, 3 words, not many letters in each one. That's very, very good.
So you will put stuck for words between one single inverted comma.
Yeah.
That's what you would use. So, okay.
Here's
So
why. Here's the difference. Most people use double quotes, like a quote with two little lines. And that typically means you're saying a title or you are using a metaphor. Right? A metaphor. But when you're wanting to emphasize something that is not a metaphor and you're emphasizing a literal translation of something, the single quotes is actually the correct grammar to use. And so it allows someone to slow down and focus in on that phrase without reading it too fast and not understanding it. So this is a technique that a lot of you can use now in your test and in the future for an element. And during the pain test, let me be clear. If you're doing a pain test, the only place I would want you to put those single quotes is on around the pain. Do not do it for the ultimate benefit. Do not do it for the common bond. Only do it for the element you're testing. So when you get to your benefit test, if you want to choose to use the same technique, you would do it around your benefit in the benefit test, because the benefit is what we are emphasizing more than anything else in what we are testing. So we want people to focus in on that more than anything else. But for the pain test, we would only put those single quotes around your pain.
Okay, thank you. So in the case of limited vocabulary, then you see that as the root cause rather than the pain.
I would still test it, but it is a little bit more of a causation than it is an end symptom. But here's the thing, just like the diagnosis, because the diagnosis is really a limited vocabulary or the root cause. But if someone understands it very well, there might be people who will say like, sorry, I have a limited vocabulary of Italian. So for those who would see it that way, they might respond to that just fine. As long as it's understood. So it's not that the pains that you have listed in that column are wrong. They're not wrong. They're not wrong. It's how well understood will they be? And I think limited vocabulary is going to be understood. Communication barriers, it's going to be understood. So it still could be tested. Language mistakes, I think so. Memory blocks, yeah, I think that's a little bit further down the track. But yes, self-doubt, that comes in a different place. So I wouldn't do that. Difficulty communicating.
It was an alternative to these two were like an alternative to some of these. So yes, so self-doubt is originally I had hesitation there. Because hesitation is often present in someone who wants to communicate and is either not quite sure, is it gonna say the wrong word, the wrong pronunciation, so I wasn't sure whether to test hesitation rather than self-doubt.
I wouldn't say hesitation. I would say, how Italian learners hesitant to speak, or Italian learners who hesitate to speak, but then you would want to do that with all of them. So you don't want to do that necessarily.
But don't worry, I'll fingers. I don't want to hijack all your time.
You have 4 of them right now that are good to test, as well as the other 2 we talked about saying the wrong things. And then there was another one that you said that was a good pain.
So I've got say the wrong thing, stuck for words, which was the replacement of memory blocks.
Okay. Now you have 6
then
pains.
Don't understand that was the replace of misunderstanding.
Yeah. So now you have 7 pains to test. Congratulations.
No, I thought these were replacing some of these. I still go for 5. So
Okay,
just
go for
so
5.
I know, Chris. So these ones that I had here, because we are now changing them, I can edit them at this stage, right? It's not a problem if I edit them with the right. Or you don't want me to touch them once they've got.
Well, the issue is you're already getting impressions, I think. If you go up to your calendar and click on maximum rather than 1st of July to the 31st of August, it might show
Oh,
that
this,
some of those.
So we don't. Well, these are only like I've only been running really 1 hour because I managed to do it just before dinner. So I mean,
So you spent $4 and $4.69 in euros. Yeah, I would probably at this stage. We usually have a rule that once you start, we don't want you to start over, and because then that makes it okay for everyone to continue to start over anytime they learn something different, and no one ever gets through the test. Like I said, it's going to be you're going to do.
So you're happy for me to leave them now? At this point, we leave them.
Yeah.
So a couple of more things very quickly. This is the image I chose because there was, I mean, Nick mentioned product placement, not product placement. So I put this image here with the person holding my book. I wasn't sure if that was a good image. I've never tested this image before. I don't know if that.
I love it.
I think is okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing in the copy of the actual ad, Nick said, keep it the same for all PBCs. The only thing I did, and I think they may be wrong, is that in the initial phrase, it says, Italian learners often encounter significant hurdles such as, and then I list all 5 of them, and then say these challenges can obstruct, and then all the rest is the same. I wasn't sure if it's bad to list all 5 in the intro, because I thought it's going to be used anyway in the others. Is it a bad thing?
No, it's totally fine to do that. And in fact, it's good because it basically states one of the panes that would be in any of those versions that you have. So it works. That's better to do for this test to have all 5 in there. What's going to happen is eventually when you finish your test, there's going to be a pane winner, and you're going to focus in on really expanding out and talking more about that pane in detail when you find the winner.
You do the other test.
But right now it's more of a catch-all. Like you're just kind of touching on everything. Totally fine.
Okay. So to summarize, I should leave everything as it is now with those things without touching, and then eventually we can play with those another time.
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Okay, next one coming up. Let's see. Change role to attendee. Dr. Nick, any quick thoughts as we're chugging along?
No, I've just been answering all the questions that I can answer in the chat as they come up. So
is there anything we need to kind of address, or are we good?
No, we're good.
All right, Greg, we're bringing you out. Ready or not? And Aja, I see you have your hand up there, so we'll get to you right after Greg. And then Talia, I would like to bring you out for a moment, even if we just unmute you so that we can talk through the ultimate benefit question you had. I don't know if anyone's helped you with that. And maybe someone has and you're good to go. All right, Greg, my man, how we doing?
Kia ora, hi.
Hi.
Hey, Nick. Hi, everyone. So, share. Desktop 1, desktop 2. Oh.
Curtis just published.
So, am I just sharing my entire desktop here?
Yes.
Oh, I've got lots of
you can choose like a tab on your browser too, whatever you're comfortable with.
Documents. I've just got lots of warning signs with triangle with an exclamation mark in with any desktop or.
I've seen everything when people share their screens, the weird bookmarks they have and tabs, and it's nothing surprises me anymore. Okay,
it should come up with a selection for you to choose.
Yeah, I'm clicking share. It's not sharing them, but the little preview for whether the entire screen or application windows has just got a triangle with an exclamation mark in, so I'm not sure why it's not doing that.
That's bizarre. I have never heard of that.
Do you,
happening.
do you normally share screen on Zoom and it works for you okay, or is this the first time sharing on Zoom?
Done it before. I can't think anything different here. Maybe what I could do is to quickly give you a link in the chat to share the Google spreadsheet. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Just grabbing a link. Okay. Right, I'm just going to drop that in the chat. There we go. Hopefully you can see that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, it says I need access. So you kind of have to change the permissions.
Hang on a minute. iOS is doing, hang on. What? Maybe come back to me. I think I've got some permissions under Zoom here.
What I'll do is I'll put you back in and then let you rejoin as well. So maybe it'll reset something. There's some weirdness going on. It's the same thing with this Vimeo video that's like I've saved 8 times and it's still not showing up. And I think it's some kind of server issue with
yeah, I think there's some permissions I need to fix up.
Yeah,
I'll do that, and then I'll share a public link.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, Aja, let's go. And Matt, I see you there. We'll get you afterwards.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
All right, I'll get my video going. Okay, there we go. My name's Asia. I know it's spelled funny.
Sorry. Okay.
No, don't worry about it.
I've known others where they pronounce it Aja, so. Yeah.
No, I just figured I'd tell you, but I'm not offended at all.
All right.
So I'm gonna share my, maybe.
It's the green button down there says share. It's got like an up arrow. Yeah.
The one that's blatantly obvious. Okay.
Never that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I am fitness, online coaching, one-on-one. And it's not necessarily that we work with only overweight women, just women who are frustrated, they're not seeing results, they're going to the gym, or maybe they're just starting out. A lot of it is modified towards them. So diagnosis, I mean, there could be a couple different things. And I think when it comes down here to the pain points, I'm probably overthinking it, because sometimes when I put these in the pain point and for my ultimate benefit to be healthy, how women go from sluggish to healthy, like that sounds boring. And not anything that I feel like anybody would click on. Or maybe I'm wrong, I guess.
Might be surprised about that.
I
Where a
was
little
just
bit of
thinking
our
the same
bias
thing.
comes in.
Yeah.
The thing that I have heard more than anything else from people going through this workshop is, the one I thought that would perform the best actually was one, or perform the worst was actually one of the better ones.
Yeah.
And many times it's very, very rare, probably I'd say less than 10% of the time, where someone got right the one that tested the best. That they guessed which one it would be. Because here's the thing, and this is a perfect point to help with a couple questions that have come in, where there was a question in the group that said, how do we eliminate this bias? How do we eliminate this bias to test pains that we wouldn't normally do? Because they took me very literally when I said, look, this test eliminates your bias. in order to test things you wouldn't normally test. So what I mean by that is the combination of things, not necessarily a lone element, which we have to come up with. And so you might be surprised that, you know, you say how women go from sluggish to healthy, you know, that women, there's a lot of women that say, I feel sluggish. And of course, healthy is, they'll still click on it. And they're like, healthy, okay, you know, not bad. But the sluggish is what's making them click, which is perfect. And if it's the one that wins, then we get to go and do a benefit test with something else. So the ultimate benefit really is just a placeholder right now to be a catch-all thing that needs to be very broad, because we don't want that to be the thing that causes them to click. We want the pain to be the one thing that causes them to click. It's actually very counterintuitive. We're actually trying to make your ultimate benefit not be the thing that makes them click, and it only be the pain, be it neutral as possible. So I'm actually good with that, because if you get the highest click rates from sluggish, and the good news is we can take sluggish and then go test all these direct benefits with sluggish that work a lot better with it and are more appealing. And that's the thing that where the bias comes in, where a lot of people are like, well, I'm not going to test this benefit with this because it doesn't seem to go together well. And in fact, that's where the winners are at, because here is a frame that is another important frame of reference to understand. Most marketing is going to teach you how to speak to both sides of the same coin. How I went from ads that did not work to ads that worked. I'm saying the same freaking thing. There's no point in saying the both the positive and the negative, right? So what we're doing is we're saying, I don't want that, but I also do want this other thing. So now instead of one dimension, just either negatively stating the same thing or positively stating the same dimension of something, we introduce two different dimensions, and we introduce different combinations to find out which combination of I don't like that, but I really like that, combined together into one headline is what people respond to. This is the magic. So we're just setting the foundation right now to find which pain or people are going to respond to and raise their hand and say, that's me. I don't want that more than any of these other ones. So I think you're right. It's not that sexy, but it's like phase 1 of 3.
Yeah.
And the real magic comes in phase 2 and phase 3.
The other problem that I came up with, obviously, for the sensitivity of Facebook ads, obviously you can't say certain things, especially when it comes down to fitness and all that fun stuff. That's where I've kind of felt like I've had a hang up on what other things are going to be okay to test.
So here's the difference. That there's a subtle nuance. Yet again, a great question and another great teaching point. You give me like 3 great things that people need to know and understand. So appreciate you for that. So the thing about promising results and saying things that are not okay, there's a qualifier in terms of compliance. The main thing compliance is worried about is when you are attempting to personally promise them a result. So here's the difference. If I say you can lose 10 pounds and gain, and get to, 8% body fat or whatever, the 12, for whatever you like. The fact that I said you, and the fact that I'm telling them they can do something with a promise is not compliant. But instead, if I said this process has helped women lose this amount of weight or get this % body fat or fill in the blank on whatever result you want, then you're not promising them personally a result. So this is where we talk about, and this is one of our social rules that you'll learn after the test. I'll preview it now for you. It's called make the mechanism the hero. In most marketing, in traditional marketing, they're always trying to make the customer the hero. But by doing that, our language dictates that we have to give them promises. And of course, according to the Federal Trade Commission, unsubstantiated claims are not okay. And an unsubstantiated claim is one that not everyone can experience 100% of the time just by buying your product. So there's a nuance to this. I once had a client who sells his music albums and CDs, believe it or not, in the 2020s online on Facebook ads. And he was teaching other music artists how to get their music like on Spotify and streaming everywhere, right? And he said, how I made $40,000 something last year in streams. And then here was the thing. He did 2 ads. He did one where he said how I made, so-and-so amount of money, and you can too. That ad got his account shut down. So when we got it back, I said, let's do this. How I made $40,000 in streams last year. Let me show you the exact process I did to achieve that. Notice I didn't say, and you can too. I said, let me give you the process that did it. Make the mechanism the hero. Because I did not promise them, that ad ran for a couple years. That ad. So the difference here is not so much what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. You cannot promise them and tell them they can have a particular result. However, you can point to others and say, this is what this other person did, or this is what this process does for people. This is what this process does for women. This process, if followed, does this. But the moment we use the word you, which is one of the reasons why we don't like to use you in our headlines, is because it makes it personal and it opens us up to compliance hits where we get things shut down. I know that's a lot there, but does that make sense?
No, I understand it. So if I may have heard you incorrectly earlier, you'd prefer us to stay with this model as far as how Common Bond goes from pain to ultimate benefit. You said that that's what you found works the best. So in testing this right now, try to still keep with that structure set up for now.
I would.
And still taking into consideration everything that you said, but that sounds like a little bit of
That's further down the track.
Yeah.
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 But you had
Okay.
mentioned it because you were concerned about saying certain things that
Yeah.
would get you turned down. And all I was saying is, if you use this inclusive approach that doesn't directly promise somebody a result, but you're talking about what these results do indirectly without pinning it on any one person or your prospect, then you won't have these issues. This headline formula accomplishes that automatically because it does not have any way for you to promise them a personal result.
Yeah. Okay.
And because you're still going to need some kind of ad copy underneath that to trigger the fact that you've got see more, so you'll still need that kind of basic ad copy underneath. That's where it does apply now in terms of going through and making sure that in that ad copy you're not making any claims. And one of the things that is really useful, again, just to phrase it a slightly different way to Chris, but again, when you talk about clients you've had, our client did this, or you tell a story about a client, then it's like a news story. They're reading about this person who's had this result, and in their mind, they're already thinking, well, I want to get that result too, but you haven't spoken to them directly, promised them directly, made any claims about what you can do. You've only talked about this thing that actually did happen to a client of yours. So that's just another way to come at it. But make sure that when you do launch these, that you do pay attention to that for the small bit of ad copy that you've got. And just on that, given that you're here, have you already had ads that you're working? Like, have you already got ad copy that has worked to some extent?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so were you kind of planning on using that, or are you going to just follow the basic outline that we went over yesterday, which is like, outline a bit of the situation, outline a bit of how your product works, and then a call to action?
So the way I'd structured it previously was, you talk a little bit about the coaching, what you've achieved and whatnot. And then it kind of did some bullet points, and it had, go from this and to this, all within a bullet point structure. So I think that, and from what, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, you'd mentioned, even though the CTR all was highest for one, but this one had the most results, they could have been getting it from the copy. They could have been converting because of the copy later in there. So I guess whatever you,
I have a solution for you.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's a key component here that it's worth everyone understanding about body copy, and it's the most missed piece of human decision making that us as humans forget about because it's so normal to us we don't even consider it. And that is, when you're influencing somebody, you must first seek to understand them and then be able to help them understand and know that you understand them. So in marketing, we often have a phrase that we say, if we can describe the problem and the pain to them better than they can explain it to somebody, we've already won. So what am I accomplishing when I do that? I'm building trust, I'm empathizing, and allowing them to know that if I know their problem, I must know the solution as well. So the part that you didn't talk about in that structure you just walked through was, you were saying basically credibility, authority.
Mhm.
Here's the things you are going to get, which bigger picture, you're going to go from this to this. Okay. You finally had some of the pain in the final area of your ad. You went from this thing you don't want to this thing you do want. The issue is they may not even get there because you did not empathize with them and you did not build their trust. So the most important, crucial thing to do right after your headline is talk about that pain in a sentence or two so that they know that you understand their pain.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you said talk about that pain. So are we trying to keep the exact same body copy the same for each test?
It's a good point, because that's where I was going to go next. You're so astute. You're on this. I love this. So here's the thing. Just like in the last one where Martina was asking, maybe I do bullet points of all the pains because it covers all 5 and it can be standardized for this, for your test, because it can be the same body copy. We do believe it's very important to not create any new variables, even in your body copy, because the text scanner with Facebook scans the entire copy. And so if your copy is different in each body copy, then what happens is they will start to show it differently based on what it knows is being said in the body copy. And it doesn't allow us to isolate the click testing of the intro, of the above creative headline being the only variable that's different. And we want to eliminate all of that extra variability that can cause the algorithm to go do what it wants rather than us trying to keep it in line, isolating one variable.
Yeah. And that makes total sense. I guess my thought process was, okay, if we talk about this pain, but then in the body copy, we're not really referring to that pain and it's kind of based on a different pain, then it like there's such a disconnect there.
Right.
So okay, doing the bullet points makes sense. Okay.
You can do the bullet points as one to list all them out. Or here's another thing. Think about it this way. The concept we taught you about the ultimate benefit. So the ultimate benefit is the reason why they want any of those benefits that you have in your benefit column. It fits to any of those benefits, or it should, right? So healthy is pretty much a catch-all, right?
Yeah.
For the pains, you would want to do the same thing. So treat the pain and think about what's the ultimate pain of all the pains you have. What is that eventuality? What is the thing we can say that is a catch-all for all of those pains? So you have tight clothes, pants digging in, feel arms jiggle, tired, uncomfortable, sluggish. So those are all around look and feel.
Mhm.
So it would be much more about a catchphrase or a catch-all phrase that says like looking like we don't even want to show up, and feeling like, feeling bad, feeling crappy, feeling like very broad, vague word is the direction to go in your first section of your body copy. That way it encompasses and includes any of the pains that you're testing.
Okay.
So it's the same concept as an ultimate benefit, except you're using it for the pains to create an ultimate pain.
We'll see what I come up with.
Some of you guys are all like, why didn't you tell me this yesterday, Chris, before I started my test? Because we went 3.5 hours. That's why. And I was answering every question that was coming at me, trying to put out every fire that's showing up in front of me. But You guys see how much more you're learning today just by doing informal coaching, right? Rich, I should, okay. All right. So any other questions?
I don't think so. I think I'll just work with this, start to fill in some here. I guess, when I was looking at the panes, choosing from this, trying to figure out what goes in this column, this column, this column was kind
You
of,
know, with the healthy thing, you know, you could probably, let's see, should we keep that? I wonder, okay, so the benefits, less pain, flexibility, less pain is not a benefit. That's saying less of pain. So that would be much more of either pain-free, which is still a bit negative, but we can also get to that in the benefit test. Flexibility, lighter, confident in ability, confident in body. So, I mean, that's even as simple as like feeling good, feeling great. You know, you could even use that, like how to go from sluggish to feeling great.
okay.
And because it's just such a big, broad catch-all. I know it's internal, but in the context you're saying it, feeling great can be the physical feeling, which is inherently external as well, right?
Yeah. I had,
Physical manifestation.
teetered with, confident, but I didn't know if that was, I mean, I don't know.
You could. It's just that confident, there's a better place for that when the test finishes.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's wrong. It's a placeholder. It would work. It's just that there's also other places that could work. So I would
Okay.
think for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So feeling great, feeling fit, you know, even feeling fit might be okay. I know healthy is kind of like wah, you know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're really wanting it to be like that and neutral.
Yeah. Okay.
The one comment I'd make for everyone listening in on this is we get taught, if we've done any other marketing course, we get taught that we have to have this completely different angle and hook and approach, which is not wrong. But what it can do is it can make us sit there when we're trying to sell something like fitness, which is that there's so much competition and there's all these people doing it. And it's one of the big ones, right? There's a lot of people out there and you go, well, for me to cut through, I have to have something completely different. I've got to come up with some completely different thing that no one else has and that sort of stuff, which is not wrong. However, it can sometimes get in our way when we're even just trying to talk to people naturally about the experience they're having. Because what we need to do is use the words that they relate to so just think about it for a second for everyone here. You've got this device, this one here. Most of the traffic's coming from it. People pick this thing up and they swipe because they're bored 3 or 4 times. And as they swipe, your ad appears for about a second or something, 1.4 seconds. And it doesn't appear as a static thing that they look at and analyze the whole ad. It is a moving visual that moves up the screen as they're swiping. And if they don't see anything they want, they put the phone down. And then therefore we lost our opportunity. We got charged for the fact that they swiped by us because it was an impression. But if they don't click on it and they put the phone down, then we missed it. So our window of opportunity is someone who's mostly bored, who comes on their phone and is scrolling or swiping. And what happens is, if the first thing they see, the first thing that's really going to happen for them is an image, because brains recognize images so much faster than they do text. But the very next thing that happens, the very first thing that comes into the viewport isn't the below creative headline, it's the text above. Because as they're swiping up their phone, the image is coming into view, the text is already there, the below creative headline isn't even there. I'm talking about in the second that it happens, but our eyes and our brains scan things that fast. When the eyes see this image and then go to the text and they see it, what happens? It's not that these people then carefully read the exact headline and then have this really high level intellectual decision to go, I'm going to purposely click on this. What ends up happening is a motivation arises within them, like we talked about yesterday, mental contrasting, and it motivates them for action, and their brain really tells them to click see more. That's actually kind of what's happening, because it's happening that quickly. It's not like they're sitting down analyzing the ad the way we do, where we're thinking about exactly what the pain should be and what we are looking to create a non-conscious action within them to click on it. And if we use words that are too complicated, or we come up with words that are cool or funny, or metaphors or analogies that they have to think too hard about, it actually takes too much time. And that's why often they don't work as well. And I've been quite surprised, and very pleasantly surprised, at how little thinking I have to do in terms of, oh, I need to be this ultimate oracle, come up with something really creative that's different than the rest of the market, when sometimes a word as simple as sluggish is exactly what they click on. And that's why they go for it. So for everyone who's, you know, if you're sitting here trying to brainstorm things that are extra creative, out of the box thinking, sometimes you just need to state the bleeding obvious, and that's the ads that
pretty
do
much
really
like
well.
the combination of the 3 bleeding obvious elements that become the magical formula that work better than
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
they do.
clever
So-
stuff we ever come up with. So, Dr. Nick, what's your PhD in again? I just want everyone to kind of know what that.
The PhD's in diagnostic reliability. But again,
Right.
I taught neuroscience and behavior for 10 years, and I just love the brain, and that's why I have one sitting right here. Because I'm often having to teach people about it. But anyway, yeah, so
He won't brag on himself, so I have to. You guys have noticed that yet? He's very humble, so I have to like, hey guys, by the way, Nick knows what he's talking about.
well, yeah, and you came up with this stuff, which is awesome. So
I fell into it. Total luck. So Asia, any other questions?
I do have a slight question regarding the picture being used, and if you already went over that, I can go back
It's fine.
to something. So I do have some photos. Obviously it's fitness based. And there are a couple of me looking at the camera, not looking at the camera, stuff like that. Is there, I know sometimes at some point I heard you reference expressions and stuff like that. So what are we going for? Because obviously we want the picture to grab attention, but not, I don't know.
Not carry the click.
Yeah, that.
So we try to stay away from overtly positive or overtly negative. We want the image to be neutral so that when they read the copy, that's what carries the click. Once you get done with your test, it's going to inform you on the things you can represent in your images. But for right now, we want as neutral of an image as possible.
Okay.
So
So
looking at the
maybe-
camera is okay,
Okay.
but also ones that are kind of like side viewpoint, I actually probably would prefer that because there's less, unless you just have a real blank stare looking at the camera. But if you have a
Mhm.
smile, then that obviously has a little bit of a positive sentiment, which is okay if it's nothing overt, you know. If you're not like smiling like a clown, which I can tell from talking to you, you wouldn't be necessarily doing that.
Yeah.
So it's not so much of a worry. It's more neutral. So oftentimes people try to pick the one they think that's going to work the best, and it kind of makes their test a little more biased than they would have assumed. So I would do as neutral as possible. Looking away from the camera is probably safer than looking at the camera because there's less to read into because
Okay.
you're looking at your eyes and your smile and face and all of that.
Yeah. Okay.
However,
Okay.
faces are very, very powerful when you're using them to help with your ad. So after your test, making sure faces that are looking at camera are smiling, have a positive sentiment, are very good to do.
If I post them in the Facebook group, will you give me your 2 cents?
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. I can do that.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Putting you back in.
Cool.
Greg,
Do I need
I'm going to unmute you, Greg, because oh, you're ready. Okay, cool. All right. We'll bring out Greg and then Matt. We got you after that. And Asia, I'll put you back in.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Now I got to scroll up to this.
Yeah. Right, let's try again. I think I got my permission sorted this time.
Okay. I'm looking for I can't seem to find it in here. In the chat.
I'm going to try and share a screen. It might work. Well, let's see.
Okay. All right. You're welcome, David. He said, great hot seat. Found that very fruitful. Thanks. Yep. That was a good one. She had a lot of good questions, and that really helped clarify quite a bit. Some things I wanted to teach yesterday, but obviously with all the questions coming in, I was just answering what was in front of me. But are you guys finding this helpful today? Let me know in the chat if you are, if this has been helpful. Right. Marco, yes. Kelly, yes. Rita, yes. Curtis, right on. Okay. That's not a lot.
See,
I'm not hearing a lot of yeses. So,
do you see that?
We're seeing
It's
yeah,
a-
like a blank screen. Yep.
it says search ask a question in Greg's Notion.
Oh, stop there.
Yeah, you've got your Notion up. Murray still have questions. Okay, Murray, go ahead and put your hand up, and then we'll
Let's
bring
do
you
this
up.
one. Do you see that one?
We can.
Right, yeah, it's the dark mode, so it's just inverse. So I've kind of narrowed this down, so maybe you could just give this a once over. So I'm a Qigong coach or teacher, and down here I've got 3 different versions of my above creative headline. So yeah, so wondered what you kind of thought about that and in relation to an audience, because I've used the mechanism as initially here, how we use Qigong to resolve pain and ultimate benefit.
So
Yeah,
a couple things right off the bat, just from a structural standpoint. If we have the word and or an ampersand, then that means we're essentially combining 2 elements together. And although that's great for regular ads, we want to separate those in our testing because we don't know which one of those words is giving the most lift. So it's either going to be long life or meaningful life. And that way you have more room as well. Now, the fact that it's an ultimate benefit, because we won't be using it in our benefit test, it's not crucial. But if I don't do that now, and if I don't say that now, you'd be like, everybody starts trying to do it. The moment they visually see somebody do it, they're like, oh, okay, I can do that too. And it's like, no. So the thing about we want to say that the Qigong thing, for one, Qigong is not the mechanism. Qigong is the solution. There is a difference.
Yeah.
The mechanism is the unique thing about your Qigong solution that makes it unique from others.
Yeah.
So the thing about that is it's not the common bond. Now, how we would do this is to find a way to say who we're targeting that is interested in or is already doing Qigong. So here's the question for you is, are you targeting existing people who do Qigong or new people introducing them to Qigong?
This is going to be our broader audience, people who might not even know how to say the word. So yeah, that's why I was going on the pain. The pain is really the identifier, the common bond, people that have the pain. Yeah.
So with that, we don't want to actually say Qigong yet because you're not going to present your solution until the body copy. Yeah,
that's why I kind of thought of switching out the Qigong and then using something like a time-proven exercise. Or
it's still leading the witness in a way that we can't isolate the pains, the benefits, and the challenges of the avatar that we're targeting. So what you're doing is you're getting a bit ahead and trying to kind of extrapolate from the formulas I gave you from 5D ads or other trainings I've had where I have headline formulas, but yet it's not necessarily how we can isolate the pain, the benefit, and the challenge that we can then build these headlines around and then include Qigong or time-proven exercise. Because it will color people's perceptions, especially depending on the awareness. If you're targeting people who are not aware of Qigong at all, then, I mean, it's different than someone who's aware of it in terms of what they reply to with pains, benefits, or perceived challenges.
Yeah.
So we need to see if we can find an avatar. This is the beauty of it, Greg. Like, really, if we can find different avatars and then speak to their pain and how they solve it, and then you get to introduce Qigong after they understand that frame of reference, that's where you get problem aware ads like this that work real well.
Right. So what would you suggest then? Take out the element of Qigong and time for an exercise, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So then we're back to just the pain and
Ultimate benefit.
the ultimate benefit. Okay.
I
So
know
then we
it's
need to reserve.
counterintuitive. I
Yeah.
know it's a bit counterintuitive, but the thing, oftentimes with a pain and ultimate benefit by itself without a common bond, it's a bit too broad, right? And so I know that's where you're going here, because you're attempting to give some scope, so that's not just like some broad pain, broad random benefit, and you're like, okay, what the heck is this? But the solution already is going to lead someone too far into their assumptions, and then it's going to change what the pain will be, the benefit, and the challenge. Trust me, I've tested it. It happens.
Yeah, I trust you, of course. Yeah.
So then what we want to do is probably see, the beauty of the common bond is attempting to reach out to someone where they self-identify as something, as a title or a word, and then be able to say, you know, if you're this, using this, you know, experiencing this pain, then you can get this ultimate benefit. Obviously, we're not saying use direct language, but you get the narrative I'm talking about.
So we have to have a common bond.
What's that?
Has to be. You're saying I need a common bond.
It absolutely does. And so what you might want to first ask yourself is, what is an identification of people that would be more receptive to Qigong in the first place? And let's start there. Now, do you have any ideas off the top of your head? I have one.
Yeah.
Martial artists.
Yeah. I've worked up other things for martial artists, but then their pains are different.
Right. But see, this is the beauty of it, is then that's one martial artist, but then there's also others. And this is how you scale into different markets.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it's just knowing which one to go with. So either like a broad version to kick off with, or a more narrow version.
I typically would like to be more of a narrow version at first.
Okay.
Because you're going to need to train your pixel. There's going to be a certain point where you have a bunch of conversions, and then you don't necessarily be talking about an individual common bond or avatar, because your pixel a lot better knows where to go. But it only happens, that only happens by having specific messaging to specific people that create high conversion rates, so that you can continue to run the ad and train the pixel. So the broad non-common bond in this particular case, not every case, but in this particular context, we probably want to have something a little more specific as a common bond first, because the broad common bond, I mean, a common bond period is going to be better than not having one at all. So,
okay.
Do you have any other particular common bonds?
Martial arts was on, or internal arts. There's lots of people.
You could say
athletes. Yeah.
You could go into that because you're dealing with pain and like all these things they want to overcome and heal faster, recover faster, all of those things, right? And so the long and meaningful life thing, obviously we could use an ultimate benefit that leads more towards what Qigong gives you, a little more specific, because of the pain and the common bond being quite broad. So it
could be something like how common bond martial artists use Qigong to, and then a different set of pains to achieve that. Just take out the Qigong. Okay.
Yeah, they'll want, if what we're looking at is we want to know what they'll respond to, that we want to know the pains they'll respond to and the benefits they want. And then we get to say, if you want that pain and this benefit, here's the solution. But if you say here's the solution right from the beginning, then they have a bias towards it and they'll actually respond differently. I
see. Yeah. You want the see more click, right? Yeah. So they don't even know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go away and rework that and put it in.
The image you use could signal someone teaching someone else with a Qigong technique or something like that. So they get
Yeah.
the idea of the type of application you're talking about.
Gotcha. Yeah, and would that be me or kind of a more generic, a more neutral image of teaching that, or someone doing it?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, you just talked previously about having a neutral image of having faces are good, but would that be me? So would it have to be me or someone else teaching, or other people doing it, like a teaching photo, or just
the ideal thing here is, because of who you're talking to, if the image, the thing about what I was talking about with Asia is I was wanting her to be careful about using an overtly positive with smiles or overtly negative, so that you see their face and the face is coloring the feeling of the entire message. What I would look for here is you showing someone a Qigong technique, faces to the side. You're not looking at the camera. You're not smiling. You're not frowning, but it's still quite neutral, but it's still demonstrating the nature of what type of solution you're offering without directly saying what it is. They would not know that it would be Qigong by looking at that. It could very well be some other type of martial art. It could be training for some kind of sport. That's the type of picture you want, where they're curious enough to go, I like trying new modalities, methods, sports, different things. I'm open to something like this, especially because that pain resonates with me and I want that ultimate benefit.
Okay.
So I know it's jumping into the other ones, it makes complete logical sense to attempt to put in the solution or another type of common bond that signals a solution or a mechanism. Yet it's just trying to get this PBC first is important, then the other pieces build around it.
Yeah, and I've going more narrow for people who are more aware of what it is. It kind of makes sense, because ultimately that's my client at the end of the day, who will take up mentoring or something bigger.
Correct. Yeah. And they're easier to convert the more aware they are. They don't take as much education or selling or convincing. And so that's a good place to start. Once you have that being very successful, you can always then start to target people who are not as aware of Qigong with different messaging and create ads that, they may cost more to convert that person, but you'll probably have a larger scale because there's more people who do not know about it than people who are familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But you want to go for the more aware people first.
Yeah, I'll find a common bond which is related.
There it is.
Thanks for that. I'll put it in the group before I run the ads.
I believe we have a plan.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome, sir. All right, putting you back in.
Yes.
All right. Murray and Matt. So we got left. Dr. Nick, any thoughts? You are muted, sir.
Matt had to bail for another call.
Oh. Okay. Then Murray. Well, there's a lot going on there. Okay.
Hello.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I joined as a panelist. I couldn't find where to share, but now I see it.
All right. I recognize an Australian accent when I hear it. Am I right? New Zealand, actually?
No, Sydney.
Sydney. Okay. All right.
Where are you? Where do you live, Nick?
Just over the bridge, just in Mossman.
Oh, right. The Snob area. Right.
Okay.
How about yourself?
Sorry.
Zoom your screen.
Can you, is that big enough?
A little bit more.
Why won't it go up? Enough.
See the zoom down there? You could scroll down to the little zoom drop down menu where it says zoom. No, down Well, you can do that too.
Here,
If you
Oh,
scroll down,
right.
right there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there it is. All right, you got it.
now look, before I do, I just want to show you a Word doc or a Google Doc. I've been hassling with this since January. My target audience is general contractors with larger businesses who have high lead volume. Their pain is they're overwhelmed with manually managing leads by phone calls and manually booking appointments. They lose a high percentage of their leads as a result, costing hundreds to thousands each week. So this is me. I've had consistent difficulty trying to reach them, also using other common group titles like home improvement contractors. So what we do, it's a high ticket automation solution. And I'm now wondering if it's not Pain Points headline. So I've assumed it's the ad structure, but it may not be. So going back to my headlines, I'm having trouble with the common bond. So we use in different states, even in America and in Canada and in Australia. In Australia, pretty well, they're home improvement or home services or home contractors. Similar in Britain, I think, but general contractors more so, and general services contractors in the US. I'm marketing in the US, not in Australia. So that's one thing, but I've run ads to get lead appointments. Every contractor thinks their big problem is lead appointments, getting leads. So I'll stop there, and you can. So I've fiddled with headlines and copy, and the only ads that worked to a degree were offering to get more appointments, more leads for people, but they are then usually the home contractors who are they're not organized, they might be smaller, and they're not good quality for me. So I'm a bit lost on even my target market in terms of calling them out, but then the pain point was I've got stuff listed up here, and the ultimate benefit. So I'll stop there, and you can ask me whatever questions you want. I hope is that clear.
What type of annual revenue would the contractors that you work best with have? Are they doing what are they doing over?
Millions.
Right. So we've got to be able to get those ones as the ones replying to your ads, because otherwise you're right. If you just go as general as that, you'll get all the people that you don't want.
I just haven't been able to, well, as you say, use common group, common buy. I just don't know how to call them out. That's why here you can see with high lead volume is the only way I've been able to single them out, because obviously if they've got high lead volume, they're doing big bucks. Means they've got big teams. I was a home contractor. I had a large team, and to get high lead volume, you have to be really creative. I had that. I didn't have any problem with leads, but I had a door knocking team which worked incredibly well. But that's a good while ago. I wouldn't be suggesting that too much to people now, because society's changed massively since then. But yeah, that's a good question, Nick. But they're doing millions. I can get leads for smaller companies, but a lot of them don't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
The other thing I've tried, I don't want to complicate things too much, but I've done a major audit of 70 home contractor websites and companies, and I've made dozens of calls to them. Almost none of them answer. Their websites are hopeless. They're all the same. And we do AI and automation. We totally revolutionize their website, and they bring their leads to a point where they automatically book appointments online. So they don't have to do the phone thing, and often bigger companies have to pay staff to chase them and all that sort of stuff. So I've probably talked too much, but it's because I'm really frustrated. I can help them incredibly. I know the business back to front, not the specific thing. Like I don't know all about roofing and plumbing, for example, bits and pieces, but it's how to run this business and other businesses I do. So I'll shut up now.
That was awesome. Okay. I do that too. I talk, and then I'm like, I'm done talking, and then I continue talking, and then I'm done.
Well, I just wanted you to get what I'm at. You know? But Nick's question is spot on. Yeah, but I'm looking for companies with millions. I just can't think how to single them out.
Fair enough. Couple things. the word frustrated and swamped, you can, during the PBC test, you can delete those.
Okay.
So those are the internal conflicts that we would add back in after the test.
Okay. Yep.
But the thing that we want to do right now is we need to reach agreement on what the main external pain that happens for them is.
Yep. Yep.
Because some people, if they get high lead volume, they might call it swamped. Others might say they're overwhelmed, but they all associate different feelings to that. And what can
Yes.
happen is when we start to lead the witness with feelings about how they should feel about something that happens, it might
Okay,
or
yep.
might not line up with them, which then can make someone feel like, I'm going to read this, but I don't feel like they're the people for me. And that's
Yep.
literally because you told them the feeling they should feel, which is different
Right.
from what they associate with it naturally.
Okay.
So we would say how, in one case, how general contractors with stalled growth are cracking high owner returns. Now, cracking high owner returns, I would definitely be good with if you're using that down under, but not in the States. In the States,
Okay.
in the States, they don't say cracking in just about any context like that.
No. Yeah. I as I say, I've used so many terms. I actually came up with that last night and thought, oh, that might work, just because I probably should go back to some of the more conventional words I've used.
Yeah,
Like
it's
getting or
funny. Like
achieving or
it's really not just about being clever all the time. It's actually just finding the combinations of common
Yeah.
words that go together.
like I had break into higher returns down here.
Yeah. And, or you could just literally say, get higher returns.
Yep. Okay. Well,
And
Well,
that's
that's
a
the
lot
other
less
thinking, yeah.
letters. So
Yep,
we could say
yep.
how general contractors with stalled growth get higher returns.
yeah. Okay.
Now
Yep.
you have plenty of room for us to be able to add on a regular benefit, a challenge, and then the other elements after we finish your test.
Okay.
So that's one of the things we're still trying to, the first few days, we're always trying to hammer that as much as possible, because you won't know it until you get to the end of it and realize, oh, if I had just shortened this up a little bit more, I
Right.
didn't realize how critical that space was, right?
Okay. Yep.
So one of the things
Working
here
through-
with the PBC, oh, sorry, Nick, you were saying?
I was just going to say, working through that, just while this idea pops in my head, is talking about pains and negated positives, right? Leads could be assumed to be a positive, and then if you put anything negative in front of it, but leads are actually just a noun. And if you had too many leads, that's a problem. And it's also going to immediately single out the people who don't have a lead problem, like as in, I don't have enough leads. So it'd be almost like how general contractors with too many leads.
That's a
because
good
they're
problem to
going
have.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, but it's still a pain they've got, and it's going to help those people identify. Because one, the people who don't have enough leads, they are going to be curious anyway. Because
Okay, that's a good point.
But nevertheless, the people who do see that message, as opposed to we can help you get more leads, like they're sitting there, they're not going to click on any of those ads because they already know they have too many leads to know what to do with. And that's
More
where
like leads slipping through the cracks, or leads dropping, or losing leads.
losing leads is up there, I think, but too many leads, I just thought could be quite a useful pain to test.
It's
Okay.
more about not being able to convert those leads, right? Because too many, a lot of people say, I would love to have the problem of too many leads. But if you're talking to the people that specifically have too many leads, but we don't contextualize it as a positive or a negative, that's when the issue comes into play. So it's more so about moving down the track from not just too many leads, but can't convert the leads, or not enough bookings.
Well, they can convert them and get enough bookings, but they lose leads. So they because they're doing it manually, they don't connect. The person doesn't answer, then they don't, and if they ring back, they don't get them, and they go backwards. But then you've got to remember, if they're getting 30 leads a week or more, all of a sudden it's next week, and now they've got. I've only chased 15 of last week. They've now got 45 to chase. And by the end of the month, they're trying to get 60 or 70 in a week, and it just compounds. So they end up losing heaps of leads. That's the problem.
So when it's got high staff costs, like you've got these pains, high staff costs, or
or the owner, sorry to interrupt me, or the owner is going crazy trying to do it himself.
Yeah. So because I'm just wondering with the solution that you have, does it only indirectly down the track help with high staff costs? Is that the actual pain that you want people to responding to? Or is it specifically that you help them make more, like you said, automate the contacting of the leads, helping the leads make their own appointments? So it really is about monetizing the leads that they're getting as opposed to, yeah.
Most of the big contractors are good at sales. They might have a sales problem, but I can address that in relationship with them if I get them as a client. But the big issue is that they just get swamped with this lead, manually chasing leads.
So
And
Chris,
they're not tech. They hate tech. They don't want to be spending time. Oh, I'll set up the AI. They don't want to know about that.
Yeah. Chris, I'm thinking here that it might be better to, instead of going like broad with different pains like high staff cost or like you said, overwhelmed, swamped, that it's different ways of phrasing, not being able to harvest the leads that they're getting. So
It is.
so too many leads is one version, but
I'm-
other ways of saying that is what's going to be
I'm
interesting.
thinking the same thing here after hearing all of that. Yeah. I would think the same exact way. It's much more about that. So it's really like even like bad lead nurturing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Um,
What you just said, Nick, about not harvesting the leads is probably good, but that's too long. But find a way of saying,
well,
yeah,
you could say how, contractors, quote, single quote, not harvesting leads, end quote,
okay.
go from not harvesting leads to, ultimate benefit, getting higher returns. I think that works.
Do you actually mean Chris put quote marks in the sentence or not?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Never thought of that.
Yeah, like do it right now, right where it says too many leads, put a single
Yep.
quote in front of two. Like no, go do it like right on that
I'll
one
do
you
it
have
there,
typed
right?
out. Yeah, type it
Yep.
because I want you to see it, right? So put a
Yep.
single quote there and then after leads.
Yep.
So like if you had how general contractors so type out how general contractors at the beginning. So it says how general contractors with too many leads.
Yep. Get high returns. Yep. I'll just take it out of there. I'll remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So the thing
We're
there is
gonna
like
see
it
it.
slows it down and it allows you to not have to use any other leading words like, getting, not getting, like it's
Yeah.
all these other words and things that are verbs that don't matter as much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it really helps condense things.
Okay, that's good. And what you said, Nick, about too many leads might attract anyone. So if someone's getting too many leads and this guy can help them, how can he help me get leads? Perhaps I hadn't thought of that either.
Yeah, that will happen. But again, what will happen though, as you then build out the pain, benefit, and then the challenge, that is going to be then helping to set the context for the people more likely. And here's the other thing that will happen that we didn't really touch on, but this is again, an amazing thing about the Facebook platform. When you then end up writing your ad about the pain, benefit, and challenge that you discover, and your ad is about people who are already doing millions or whatever, Facebook will scan that whole ad copy and get a better idea of who to show that ad to because it's mentioned throughout. So Chris coined the term in this case of contextual targeting. So instead of you having an interest of, oh, I want to target general contractors who do over $1 million in revenue a year, and that's an interest, you'll be able to have an ad where the ad copy is specific enough for that type of person that then Facebook begins to find that type of person to show the ad to. And it all starts with getting the PPC right, because of course those types of people need to engage with the ad by clicking see more to do it.
Yeah.
So we just have to go through the process step by step, finding out which wins, which of these pain, benefit, challenge wins. But with you, we really do need to keep in mind that the way we phrase it needs to be in such a way as it's going to appeal to the ideal client that you want, the one who's doing over $1 million or more a year.
Yeah. Okay. That's really helpful. So if you've got any more to say about that, I really appreciate it. But one thing that you tend to get a message from Facebook is, oh, your ads are fragmenting. So if you do, different ad sets and ads so I was thinking I really need to get going with this. So if I do 5 with the one PBC, but wanted to do then 5 with a different PBC and ran them all at once, like in the structure you've said, is that a problem?
Where are you running these at?
What do you mean where in terms of
What-
location
what-
geographically?
Yeah.
Well, I'm using 11 states in the east of the US. I ended up with a huge audience. And then I'll
So,
do Canada. I can do them in Australia, but I'm doing it
Yeah.
over there.
well, for one, I wouldn't worry about their fragmentation notices.
Right.
Facebook has a particular agenda that
Yeah.
makes them more money, that allows
I
them
thought
to
that.
manipulate your ads
Yep.
more.
Yep.
And so don't worry about that so much. If you have a large enough audience, having 2 PPC tests is kind of okay, but it may cause a little bit higher CPMs because you may end up bidding against yourself in the auctions with
That's
too
what I
many
was
ad
talking
sets.
to. Okay.
So
All right.
to be
let's do
safe,
the
I'd
one.
probably just do one at a time and then do the other one afterwards.
Okay. Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really
So-
helpful.
The other thing here is, have you attempted to go to AI and just ask it about pains like Nick showed on day one?
No. Just ask AI to give me pains that these particular type of clients might have, you mean?
Let's do this right now.
And
Okay.
also asking it to come up with other ways to phrase the problem or the pain that they're experiencing of
Yep.
too many leads. And it might just come up with some languaging that you go, oh yeah, actually that's, like, no, they would never respond to that. Oh, well, you don't want to make presumptions there too, but it might come up with some language that's not specific at all to contractors. And you might go, well, that's just the jargon
that's-
to respond to.
I did wonder about just not using general contractors, but say how business owners. But that won't single out. I mean, we are planning to do it for all appointment-based local service businesses. Solar companies and dentists and people that have high ticket services. But it gets too general then. I've got I think it's an excellent landing page that really specifically targets home contractors and general contractors, rather than we are going to create a website for all local appointment service.
And if you go
Based
business owners, it's going to include every single type.
That's
of-
right. And we're not ready. And then I'll go to the landing page and think it's not for me, so it won't work at the moment.
So here's what we're going to do. I have a prompt for all of you, which some of you are going to be upset with me about not sharing it with you on day one, but I wanted you to go through the exercise of learning this. So when you use this prompt, you know what to look for and you know what to discriminate against. So I'm going to paste this in here, and Murray, we're going to work through this with yours right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And- Yeah, absolutely. So there's a bit of a prompt at the beginning that basically gives context and role and all of those things. And then there's a whole prompt about it's going to give you basically everything that you need in your worksheet. So
Wow.
let's just break this down a bit. So first off, we're telling it it's a researcher, which really helps because then it doesn't, convert to like tropes of marketing tropes and everything.
Okay.
So
Yep.
we're going to be, you're an expert researcher on, and I would say lead nurture for construction companies, home improvement contract for general contractors. Lead, and do you have a better word than lead nurture? You tell me.
On lead, I've been saying lead management. I don't know that it's a better word, but that's what I've been saying.
Let's do it. Let's
It's
just-
fairly well understood. If you're managing your leads, you got to get them to appointments.
Yeah. So then you specialize in solution, which your solution is,
Well, it's automatic booking an appointment.
in
Client booked appointments. It is
getting client booked appointments.
using AI.
Appointments.
I don't know whether either of you. My daughter was a marketer. She's not now. She's a tram driver. Would you believe? But she says to me, "Don't use the word AI. Everyone will react." What?
I agree. I'm not going to use AI in here because then it's
Okay,
gonna-
that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's good. That's
Especially
just
in
me.
getting client booked appointments and making sure they show up to the appointment. Would you say that?
That's not really an issue. All they have to do is make one phone call on the day they're going to do that. The appointment is at the person's house, so they just
Okay.
want to
All
check.
right.
All they have to do is ring on the day and just check that. That's not an
Okay.
issue.
All right. So I'm going to give you all this prompt, but I want to show you why it's here and what it does. You are not
Okay.
generic, right? So we try to get out of that. Your output isn't generic. Any
Yeah.
information you find in any text you explain is advanced, factual, very important to say factual, specific, and detailed, right?
Yep.
Your research topic is why symptoms happen. So the symptoms are essentially why symptoms or why pain happens, right? Or why problem happens. It really should be more of problem. So
Yep.
why leads don't book appointments.
But don't get, don't, no, it's not don't book it. Why leads don't get booked by the contractor it is, but that might be a bit long.
No, that's fine. Because this isn't one of our elements. It's just literally, why leads don't get booked by contractors. And then I'll take out that part. Okay. The rest is all set to go. Let's do the quotes around here so they know the title of that. Oops. And then what I'm going to show you here is, please provide a comprehensive overview of the topic by breaking it down to these categories: diagnosis, symptoms, secondary effects, tertiary effects, benefits, ultimate gain, which is ultimate benefit, challenges, factors considering. And so then it says, begin with diagnosis, then expand. And so it has a suggestion in there as well, which is like the exact example we had in the Google Sheet for you guys.
Yep.
And that's it. So then keep each symptom, benefit, and challenge, concise, 1 to 3 words.
Hey, Chris, just a sec there for you. It's 9 a.m. here for me, and I have a series of client calls I got to jump on.
Okay.
So I've messaged everyone, but anyway, everyone's doing awesome. And like I said in my message in the chat, if you are unsure or stuck and think you're hiding behind a computer, don't hide. Ask in the group, because we want to get you live. There's plenty of time. We will get everyone over, right? So ask in the Facebook group, and I'll go and check things later on when I'm finished today. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chris. See you, Murray.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. Yep. I'm just making sure. Okay, cool. All right. So then keep it concise. Do not merge multiple items. Provide your table and output table format. I'll have to put that in there. All right. So here we go. Let's see what it gives us.
Okay.
So it thinks the poor lead conversion and ineffective follow-up is the actual reason why it's not working.
Right.
I don't know why it's not giving me.
Well, ineffective follow-up's correct.
So symptoms: poor response time, missed follow-up, lack of lead prioritization, no appointment setting system, inconsistent communication. Now, here's the thing. This thing does not understand code elements in the definitions that we use them.
Right.
So some of these you're going to throw away because it's like, nah, that ain't a pain.
Yeah. Yep.
But what it's doing is like, look at how many ideas it's giving you.
Yeah, I know. That's incredible.
I mean, you've got literally 30 different pains to choose from here, and you're going to throw away half of them, like negative brand perception. That's not a thing, right?
Yeah.
They always say that, and it's like, that's not a thing, right? So, but you've got plenty to work from here now to then go and do your pain test with.
Yep.
And then look at that, ultimate gain, long-term business growth and sustainability. So I would take the and out in my ultimate benefit and just see like long-term growth or long-term sustainability.
Yep.
And that could be one, and it may not be the one, right? You could choose a different one.
Yep.
But the good news is we use this all the time for doing PBC tests in our agency.
Well, that's an amazing setup of an instruction. Not many people would think of that, Chris. That's awesome in itself.
I've got this on a notepad, a text file. I'm going to upload this to day 3 so that you guys can download it and have
that would be really appreciated. Yeah, that's excellent.
You guys like this prompt? Was that cool? Yeah, please provide that full prompt to us afterwards. Absolutely, Martin. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to post it in the chat for those of you who are going to start freaking out saying, give that to me right now. So I'm just going to do that. Let me grab this thing again. And that way you all have it right away. And then I will put the text file. So it's a quick text notepad text file that you can use. Now, one thing I ask, I need you all to promise me this, please. And I need you to promise it to me and say yes before I give this to you. Okay. I'm strong arming you here. If I give this to you right now and you already have your PBC test running, will you promise me that you will not turn off your PBC test and start over? You can always do more PBC tests. Okay. But the last thing we want to do is all of you start stopping your PBC test halfway through or even after the first day to start over. Because if you do that, you're going to do that 3 more times when you learn something else. And then you're never going to get through your PBC test. And then you're going to be so far behind that we can't help you because we're going to be into like week 3.5. And then you're finally finishing your PBC test. And then you're going to have a bunch of questions. And we're going to be around, but it's going to be difficult for you to get caught back up, and it becomes just a pain, right? And so I want you guys to just make sure that understand that this one test you're doing, you shouldn't be betting your life on. It's not the end all be all. It's not the only one you're going to do. It's just the first one to learn how to do it. And usually you get results, pretty good results out of it. Some people have completely transformed their business from it. But please don't stop your test. Just use it for next time. Use it for other tests, right? All right, with that, I will grab it, and it's going in the chat right now for those of you who are foaming at the mouth. Oh, you know what? It's too big. It's not letting me put in there. Yeah, that's funny. Let me see if I can do it now that I'm not share screen. No, it's not letting me do it. Look at that anticlimactic way to do that, huh? Split it in 2. Yeah, of course, Lainey, you want it so bad, don't you? I'm going to put it in the group right now. How about that? We could do it on a Google Doc. It's on a text file. I'm just gonna put the text file in the group literally as we speak.
Oh, in the Facebook group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. PBC prompt for, in caps, the future for future tests. Not your current test. Do not turn off your current test. PBC prompt for future tests. All right.
So can I get that result? That
Yes.
came through? Is that easy?
I'll grab this for you. Do you have ChatGPT?
Yep.
Okay, let me get you the share link for that. Do you have 4.0? Do you have the paid version?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
4. Yep.
All right. It should. It's taken a moment. It's got like that circle that's there. It is. Yeah. Copy link. All right. So this one's for you. I'm going to send it directly to you in the chat, Murray.
Thank you.
You are in hosts and panelists, so you should be able to see that show up there.
Yep. Got it.
Yeah, Michael, you've got a multi-step bot and prompt sequence that I have set up, and yeah, you have in Poe. I have Poe as well. Guessing this will fill in a lot of gaps. It will. We've refined this for a long time. And on that note, this is probably a good time just to mention to all of you that I have a software I've been developing over the last 8-9 months that has our entire element system on how to write ads and everything in an AI writing software. So we'll be looking to release that in the very, very near future.
Well, that was been incredibly helpful, Chris. Thank you.
You got it, my friend. You got it. Let me see if I can get this.
I haven't run my ads yet. I can do that with a bit more confidence now. That's great.
Yeah. Happy to hear it.
Thank you.
Happy to hear it. Yep. You cannot post that. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Let's see if that posts. It should. Yep, it's in there. So it's in the group, guys. Run there and get it as fast as you can. All right. Kelly, wow, just a few months ago, that was impossible how AI is changing so fast. We've been able to use that prompt over the last few times, but we've been refined it to where it really now works. And ChatGPT 4.0 is so much better in what it was before. We were struggling with it before, and it's doing with 4.0, it's a lot better. All right, David, got to go right on. And Talia, can you link it in a Google? Yeah, so it's all in the group now. Let's see, am I missing anything? Okay, all right, Murray, any other questions, my friend?
No, I think I'll have heaps more down the track, but it allows me to do a really different original PVC. That's fantastic. Thank you. Quite a breakthrough for me, Chris, if you knew what I've been through. So that's
absolutely. Have a crack at it.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. Thanks so much, buddy.
You're welcome, bud. You're welcome. I'll put you back in. All right. Anyone else before we head on out of here for the day? Anyone else have any quick questions or any more hot seats, any more reviews on your elements? Now would be the time. And if not, by the way, for all of you here, I did find the problem. I did find the root cause of why we have that pane of the Zoom showing up instead of the Vimeo video. It has now been fixed. So if you load that page, it should load the full Vimeo hosted video. And my apologies on that. I've just learned something new in tech stuff with WordPress sites. I used to have so many WordPress sites and dealt with all this stuff years ago, and just getting back into that side of it and brain fart. All right. So that is about it for today, unless there are any other questions. And, you know, if you haven't read my post in the group that I made last night that shows Luke Skywalker standing upside down with Yoda on his foot, please go do so. Like I said in that post, yesterday was the hardest day. Today was a little easier. And from here on out, it's going to get easier and easier and more fun and more fun. So the tough part's over, you know. It's not the first 2 crazy days of trying to get all of that in and learning. And although it comes together slowly for some, bit by bit, and others, like, it takes a while and then it all comes together and they're like, oh, I get it now, right? There's a lot of you that haven't yet turned that corner. That's to be expected. It's okay. If you don't understand everything yet, that's entirely fine. As long as you keep going through in the process, that's why we want to help you with your elements, because there are deeper nuances to this that are, it's almost too much to try to teach you at first. But please understand, I've been doing this system for like 12 years, 13, 14, almost 14 years now, like doing elements like this. This is the way my brain has always thought about it, which I always thought everyone else did. And I kept on teaching, and people are like, this is insane. I've never seen anything like this. And I'm like, what? It took a long time for me to figure out that people didn't naturally think this way, and to realize that I have some weird ways of coping with and thinking, and I have a bit of a learning disability. So I think about and look at things a little differently than others. And sometimes very simple things, I overthink it and overanalyze it and don't get it right away. So shout out to you, Rich. I know this has been, the catatonic stupor that you came on the call with, I've been right there. I'm like, I don't, you know, I so remember being right there so many times. So, don't be hard on yourself. If you find yourself not getting this and being hard on yourself, please do not. This is a unique system. And you could ask yourself, why don't I just go learn regular marketing? Well, for some reason, this just works better than regular marketing. Just really does. And that's why it's really hard to understand some of the guidelines we give you on the call, where we say, don't do it this way, do it this way. You may not fully understand why I'm saying do it this way, but it's because I'm projecting out how that plays out down the road, and I don't want to set you up for failure. There are things that we haven't clarified as to why we do it that way. But when you get there, it'll start to make sense. Okay. Okay. With that, we're going to close it off for today, and we shall see all of you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. We'll be in the group if you need us. You're welcome, Telia.